PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And on this episode of Vegas Hockey Hub Recap, where we break down every single game of the 2024-2025 season, we are going to be discussing the most recent game where your Vegas Golden Knights took on the former Minnesota North Stars. And this is a really good game. We're going to break down every single part of it. And, it's kind of cold outside. So, got this Henderson Silver Knights sweater on, to represent the Henderson Silver Knights out there in the AHL. Go support them over there at the Leagues Forum. But when it comes to this game, there is a lot of notable stuff we are going to go over. And we're going to talk about all of this here on Vegas Hockey Hub Recap. There is one update on the pre-game notes, but it is a major update, and it is the biggest update for Vegas Golden Knights fans, and that is that your captain, Mark Stone, is back. So after exactly 1 month of Mark Stone being on the shelf, after having that injury during the empty net against the Edmonton Oilers, the Vegas Golden Knights are happy to announce that after him being in practice, after him, skating around with the team for a little bit, trying to work his way back into the starting lineup, your captain, number 61, Mark Stone, back in the lineup for the Vegas Golden Knights. And this is really good for Vegas, having his presence, not just in the locker room, not just with him being the captain of the team, but when Vegas has Mark Stone on the ice, the difference between that. You could tell based off of the way that he's a two-way forward. You could tell based on the defensive production that this team is better when Mark Stone is on it versus when the team is not. So for Mark Stone being back, that is a big deal for the Vegas Golden Knights. And that's the only pregame note I do want to mention, that Mark Stone is back and he's skating with the Vegas Golden Knights. And very happy to see that. So very good to see Mark Stone, and happy for him to be back with your Vegas Golden Knights. Now, the starting lineup for your Vegas Golden Knights. Now, on forward line 1, we have back for the first time in over a month, Ivan Barbashev, Jack Eichel, Mark Stone. So your first line for the Vegas Golden Knights is back together out here in Vegas. And then on the second line, you have Alexander Holtz, Tomas Hertl, and Victor Olofsson. Once again, Alexander Holtz, and I've talked about this on previous episodes before, he's really trying to find any line chemistry because, he's been on the first line, he's been on the second line, he's been on the third line, he's been on the fourth line. Like, he keeps being, put on every single line. Bruce Cassidy is trying to make Alexander Holtz work. And there really hasn't been any chemistry at all with anyone this year. Kind of disappointing to see. But for Alexander Holtz on that second line with Hertl and Olofsson. And then you have the line that's actually gelled very well over the last couple of games. And that's Brett Howden, William Karlsson, and Pavel Dorofeyev. And then on the fourth line, Tanner Pearson, Keegan Kolesar, and Nicholas Waugh. So with Mark Stone being back, essentially what this did is that it pushed Kolesar and Waugh back to the fourth line because they've been on the second line for a few games now. In fact, it's been a couple weeks that Nicholas Waugh and Keegan Kolesar have been on that second line with Tomas Hertl. So with Mark Stone being back in the lineup, we have now seen Kolesar and Waugh back to their natural lineup, and that's on the fourth line with Tanner Pearson. Now, defensive pairings for the Vegas Golden Knights, you have Noah Hanifin and Alex Pietrangelo, Braden McNabb and Shea Theodore, and then you have Nicholas Hague and Caden Korzak, Ben Hutton and Zach Whitecloud still dealing with injuries right now. So Caden Korzak being a everyday starter right now as those injuries are happening. And then in net for the Vegas Golden Knights is Aiden Hill. So Aiden Hill being in the net for your Vegas Golden Knights in this very important game. Now, to start this game out, outside of the Shea Theodore penalty to begin the game, what I appreciate about the Vegas Golden Knights is that they let the Stars be their own worst enemy. The Dallas Stars didn't have one penalty in the first period. They didn't have two penalties in the second period, in the first period, but they had back to back penalties in the first period. And the way the Dallas Stars play their game and the aggression and the aggressiveness of the Dallas Stars, this is an organization that was just committing unnecessary penalties. And who's the team that took advantage of that? That would be your Vegas Golden Knights. And what I will say that when it comes to Vegas Golden Knights is that when you had 3 penalties in the first period, there was going to be a power play goal. I wasn't going to say when, not if, but when you have a power play goal, this was going to be the case. And for the Vegas Golden Knights, that ended up being a reality, as in the first period on the Sam Steele slashing penalty, the second of the 3 that I mentioned, Tomas Hertl with a solid play right in front of the net. He would get it right past the goalie. It would make it a 1-0 game for your Vegas Golden Knights. So for Tomas Hertl, this was a solid power play performance. I mean, he's really been a power play quarterback all year long with the Vegas Golden Knights organization. And, this is a guy who so far this year, he's been scoring goals at an elite level. Kind of similar and kind of turning the clock back to what he was doing in San Jose. Him, Dorofeyev, Eichel, Barbashev. You've had 4 real contributors that are putting the puck in the back of the net at a consistent level with your Vegas Golden Knights. So with Tomas Hertl, I can sit here and appreciate what he is doing on the power play. But yeah, him getting that first goal, making it a 1-0 game at the first period with the Vegas Golden Knights. And this is a really good performance by them. Now, there is one negative, and I want to get this out of the way. And the referees were making just really bad calls in this game. There were certain calls where, there was an interference by Dallas. It wasn't called. There was times where Vegas was getting hit in the neutral zone. There was slashing. There was a bunch of just unnecessary moments by the Dallas Stars. And the Vegas Golden Knights were not getting these calls at all. And I understand there's going to be people who are going to say, well, you won the game at the end of the day. Why are you talking about bad calls? Why are you complaining about bad calls? Well, it's because as an analyst and as a journalist, I call it the way I see it. The refs were just making bad, unnecessary, calls that needed to be called in this game. Vegas was not getting them. And I'll even be fair to Dallas. There was 1 or 2 calls that Vegas got away with. There was a Vegas Golden Knights call where Vegas tripped someone on the Dallas side, and Vegas did not get a penalty for that. So, yeah, there was 5 or 6 calls in this game that should have been penalties, and somebody should have gone to the box, but they did not. So, yeah, the refs just making bad, we're having a bad game between Dallas and Vegas. But, yeah, referees were not doing what they needed to do, and that is unfortunate. So, yeah, bad calls by the referees. Really one of the only negatives that I'm going to mention on this episode. Now, when you got into the second period, the Vegas Golden Knights, there was only 1 penalty done on Vegas. Thankfully, it did not end up being a power play goal on the other end, and that was a Noah Hanifin penalty. He would go to the box. He would be there for 2 minutes. Vegas would kill this off. So a really solid sign tonight by the Vegas Golden Knights on their penalty kill. But the Dallas Stars would get on the board and would tie the game up. Maverick Bourque would end up scoring for Dallas. And this was just a play where, Aiden Hill, he was on one side, and it was just, moving around, redirection, and Maverick Bourque getting it past Aiden Hill, making it a 1-1 game. Not going to blame anybody there for that goal. It just ended up happening where it was. And then for the Vegas Golden Knights, this would end up a little bit later, ending up in a scrum of sorts as Jamie Benn, good old Jamie Benn, the guy that has been a pain in Vegas' side the last couple of years. Jamie Benn would get a double minor against Nicholas Hague, and this was a call that needed to happen because it was an unnecessary situation. I mean, what Jamie Benn did against Nicholas Hague, and there's going to be people who are going to say, well, might be the fan reacting here. But no, Noah Hannafin, I will say the penalty he had earlier in the period is tame compared to what Jamie Benn did. That double minor was deserved by the Dallas Stars because Jamie Benn did indeed cause a situation, and he could have possibly made a situation worse with the Nicholas Hague double minor. And, overall, when it comes to, a high sticking penalty, regardless of the intent behind it, when you have a high sticking penalty and the motion that it was at, it was a deserved double minor by Jamie Benn. And it just reminds me that, Vegas Golden Knights fans, there's no animosity. There's no love lost when it comes to the Dallas Stars. I mean, people got to remember what happened this year, and more importantly, what happened in the playoffs between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars. That's still in people's mind. So for Jamie Benn, that double minor for the high sticking on Nicholas Hague and the intent behind it, we'll see what happens with the NHL moving forward. But what was the silver lining is that the Vegas Golden Knights get a 4-minute power play, and your Vegas Golden Knights, for the second time in this game, they would get on the board. And congratulations to Jack Eichel. His point streak would continue as Jack Eichel on the power play would score and get the Vegas Golden Knights a 2-1 lead here, as it would be assisted by Shea Theodore. Now, Jack Eichel, 9th goal, in 28 games. But when it comes to his assists, Jack Eichel is well over a point per game in his assist column. Shea Theodore done really well. In fact, this is also the same Shea Theodore that had an assist on the Tomas Hertl power play. So 2 power play goals, 2 power play assists by Shea Theodore. And later on in the second period, after that 4-minute power play would conclude and wrap up, Nicholas Waugh, even though he's back on the fourth line, he would end up scoring and making it a 3-1 game at the end of the second period by your Vegas Golden Knights. Now, the only 2 notes that we have from the third period between Dallas and Vegas, and that would be the unsportsmanlike conduct on Mason Marchment, not even 10 seconds into the third period. Mason Marchment, that was a call that needed to happen because, anytime somebody goes near the goaltender, that's going to cause a scrum. That's going to cause an unsportsmanlike conduct. And that was well-deserved by him. He goes to the penalty box. Even though Vegas, it would have been nice to see 3 power play goals in 1 game. Not going to be greedy. 2 was more than enough in this game. And then later on in the third period, Dallas trying to get back in the game. And it was a 3-1 affair until Mason Marchment once again pops up as he would score and make it a 3-2 game. Now, later on, the Dallas Stars would try to pull a empty net. They would try to get, the 6-on-5, and Vegas would not score in those final minutes of the third period. Now, before we talk about the win itself, I do want to acknowledge the great performance by Adin Hill. I've talked about on this show before how Adin Hill is streaky, but when Adin Hill is on the positive side of being streaky, he will have 4 or 5 games in a row where Adin Hill has an amazing performance and he looks like an elite level goaltender. That has been Adin Hill at times in his career. And tonight he made 38 of 40 saves in this game. So overall, that is a great performance by Adin Hill. Kind of happy to see that Adin Hill's doing a really good job. And over the last month, there's only been maybe 1 game that you would make an argument that Adin Hill had a terrible performance. But out of that month, there's been 5 great performances, for one lousy performance. And you know what? When it comes to the National Hockey League, you will take that every single time. So yeah, 40 shots on net for Dallas compared to 38 shots for 38 saves for Aiden Hill. And overall, when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights picking up the win here tonight and kind of getting a little bit of revenge, getting some comeuppance against Dallas, considering what happened in the playoffs last time. And you know what? I'm also going to address it. The Vegas Golden Knights are on a win streak right now. 3 wins in a row for the Vegas Golden Knights. And that's what you honestly like to see. When it doesn't matter what month it is, doesn't matter what time period it is. Anytime the Vegas Golden Knights can get a win streak and they can rack up 3, 4, 5 wins in a row. When we see the Vegas Golden Knights win 8 out of 10, or if they win, 9 out of 12, those are always good times for the Vegas Golden Knights. And this is the win-loss record for Vegas. You're looking at that right there on the screen. And for Vegas to have 10 more wins than they would have losses, because 7 losses and 3 overtime losses makes that 10 losses. So overall, when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, you kind of see the 7 regulation losses versus 18 regulation wins. So that's really good for Vegas. I like what we saw there. And overall, when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights moving forward, it's going to be very fascinating to see what happens. Now, player of the game will go to Aiden Hill because of his great performance tonight. I understand Shea Theodore having a multi-assist night. Tomas Hertl had a power play goal. Jack Eichel had the power play goal. But overall, the player of the game will go to the goaltender tonight. And moving forward for Vegas, and this is the current schedule right now, you are going to have a 6-day break. The Vegas Golden Knights are going to have a couple of days off, and then you're going to go up against the best team in the Western Conference. And then after that, you're going to go up against one of the rivals in the Pacific Division. And then you're going to have, teams like Minnesota, Edmonton, Winnipeg. So the future is very interesting for Vegas. And when you look at the schedule moving forward, you are going to have a real tough schedule ahead until you get towards the end of it. So overall, for the Vegas Golden Knights, I can appreciate what they did tonight. I like what we saw from them. And overall, Vegas Golden Knights winning a very aggressive 3-2 victory tonight. And, this is going to be very interesting to see, maybe down the line, could this be a matchup way down the road when we get into the May situation? Because a lot of people don't realize that, yes, we are way ahead of what needs to be done. But could you imagine a Western Conference final involving the Dallas Stars and the Vegas Golden Knights? Because, Winnipeg Jets having one of the best records in the Western Conference right now, we all know the struggles of the Winnipeg Jets come playoff time. Edmonton Oilers taking on the LA Kings is kind of a formality at this point with how often it's been come playoff time. And then your Vegas Golden Knights, regardless of who they take, it doesn't even matter. But when it comes to Vegas, first round, second round, if the Vegas Golden Knights win the Pacific Division and they make it to the Western Conference Finals, it would be very interesting to see who comes out of the Central. Winnipeg right now, Dallas right now, Colorado's kind of been shaky, but even they'll probably still be somewhere in the reality of that. Minnesota's had a really hot start, but overall, when it comes to Vegas Golden Knights, this would be something that I would say personally, Dallas versus Vegas in the Western Conference Final, I would want to see that. So, Vegas Golden Knights doing this recap show, and I want to appreciate all the people who watch every single episode of Vegas Hockey at Recap. We do have the people who do watch those. So until next time, I'm your host, Ian Rachiele, and good victory by Vegas, and go Knights, go.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.